Hello guys, welcome back. Now it's time for us to take a quick look on the difference between NoSQL and a SQL database. So let's just get started with a SQL database. I just got here MySQL, for example. I think everybody knows MySQL. It's one of the most used database systems in the whole internet, I would say. Many sites they use MySQL, especially using PHP or any other programming language. Basically, a SQL database will have a database schema or partition or whatever the terminology is, which will hold one-to-many tables. In a SQL database, tables, they are tabular data, which means something like this. So, and they have relationships to each other. So that's a nice example. We can see here their example for the employee structure or employee whole data structure. We have employees, which they have salaries, and the employees, they can have titles. The employee, they can be a department manager or they can be under a department manager, and department, they have many managers, and yeah, on and on and on. So what we used to do is to use the third normal form. Yes, get here the third normal form, which is basically to extract all the repetition we have on that tabular data and break it down into different tables. So that's basically the way we use a SQL database. The problem with that is to scale a SQL database. It's not easy, and neither easy nor simple, I would say, because what people usually do is we usually add more memory or a different processor and more disk and on and on and on. So, but there's always a limit for that, and that's called vertical scaling. Vertical scaling is we simply add more resources to that server, which means we'll be adding more memory and more disk and different processor, or I don't know, more cores and on and on and on. This is called vertical scaling. And of course, there is a limit for that. So there is a limit on how much memory we can throw into a system and how much disk and how much bandwidth and etc. So on the other hand, a NoSQL database, and there are many of them, to be honest. We have Hadoop, Cassandra, Hypertable, Amazon, DynamoDB, and yeah, there are a bunch of them. But basically, the NoSQL database, they will differ on the way they handle data. For example, some NoSQL databases, they will be column-based. Some others, they will be document store. For example, if we take a look at the MongoDB, for example, yeah, it's going to be a document-based one. If we look for Google Speak Table, that's going to be a column store. And another big difference is the way the NoSQL database, they scale. They scale horizontally, which means adding more nodes or adding more servers besides the one we already have. So these are the biggest differences, which is called scale out. So we have vertical scaling and horizontal scaling, or scale out. So these are two big differences, and those two big things we need to keep in mind about NoSQL and SQL database. Just as a last point here, just show how a SQL database scales horizontally. In this case, is using shards, but this is a very difficult thing to achieve. I mean, that's basically we get a single database into any or table, for example, and then we partition that data into multiple databases, and that's it. And we have to find a way to balance that data. For example, we can partition from name A until C in one partition, and from D until F to another partition. But this thing is really a piece of work just to find that right data set that we can partition, and also the way we can balance that data. And again, we still have to rebalance that data later, because we'll still be querying and inserting data into these shards as well. So NoSQL is a much more clean solution for scalability, for example, and DynamoDB is awesome because we can simply define our table, define our configuration, and then it simply works. Cool. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and let's see you in the next lesson.